Good morning and welcome to the show. It's a happy Monday, and we've got Dr. Roman Nation here in the studio who's going to tell us a little bit about managing stress. We're all very busy nowadays, and we all deal with stress in different ways. Maybe there's something we can learn from the good doctor about how we can better cope with that. Welcome to the show, Doc.
Good morning, sir.
Stress. Everybody's got it.
Yes, sir.
And it's just a matter of degree and level of stress. Is there an optimum level of stress that gives you peak performance?
It's not a level, it's actually a periodicity, basically. And when you think of like how workouts are structured, you know, the different people you had on your show where they go and have the exercise patterns, you don't have an exercise pattern where you're just, you know, going all out all the time, because you fail, your system gives up and it just crashes. Well, it's the same kind of thing in life, is that it's not a matter of, you know, a little bit of stress versus a lot of stress, because you can have some people that tolerate, you know, taking 6 kids to school and working 2 jobs and those kinds of things, and they can keep up with it, whereas other folks, they have, you know, basically they're stay-at-home moms, or, you know, those kinds of things, which has its own level of stress with it, but it's an intensity, and it's a break period, it's a respite period.
So I guess everybody deals with stress differently.
Yes.
And if you heap too much on yourself, I suppose, or maybe you lose perspective, it could really affect your health, can it?
Yeah, typically what we see a lot of, unfortunately it happens a lot in women, that they internalize a lot of things. And so one of the biggest things that we see is after a patient has taken care of everybody else, that they don't take care of themselves. And so we have lots of folks that come in and they have these very vague and generic complaints that I'm tired all the time, I've been gaining weight, my sleep is horrible.
That is so true. I mean, if mom gets sick,
right,
everything goes to pot.
Exactly. And you know, because dad's off doing his job and whatnot, and so moms actually have a much more commonly where they take on multiple roles even when they work. You know, it used to be when we had dad was working all the time and then mom stayed at home with the kids and took care of all those household type of issues. Well, even in today's workforce, with both parents working full-time jobs, statistically moms are still more likely to take on other roles.
That's the way it works in my house.
And they do. They go work and then they come home and they do the dishes, they do the laundry, they take care of the kids, and they do all of that.
If you're a traditionalist, like I kind of am, you know, the division of labor is, okay, you got the inside of the house, I got the outside of the house. She doesn't do the lawn, I do the lawn. Right. You know, we do the cars, any of that car maintenance stuff.
Right.
Is pretty much the guy, but still, you know, the inside of the house, there's a lot going on there.
There is, and it still comes down to like
and it may not be as simple as mowing the lawn.
No, and the bonding portion of it, to feel like the family unit is working together, is they actually have to help each other on both sets of tasks. You know, one can have the majority of being the outside, but it really goes a long ways mentally inside for have somebody come out and help you with what you're doing. And the same thing on the inside of the house. If she's in the inside, you know, doing the laundry or the dishes or those types of things, the male coming inside or, you know, spouse, whoever, in couples, the other partner coming in to help them with a small portion of that, it actually extends a lot of faith to that other person, saying, valuing what they're doing. And not just taking it for granted. Because when you're doing it by yourself, you know, there's all these internal thoughts that go on in your head that's like, you know, does this really matter, or does this person even recognize what I'm doing?
I'm doing all this.
Exactly. And it goes both ways.
Kind of the unsung hero of the household there is the mom.
Yeah.
And everything running. We have to run off to a break in the local weather. But let's talk more about this on the other side of these messages. And I'm going to have my first sip of coffee from Deja Brew out on Panama City Beach. It's the best coffee on the beach. And we're going to your local weather, brought to you by the West Pittman Law Firm. westpittmanlawfirm.com. Welcome back to the show. I'm speaking with Dr. Roman Nation, and we're getting some tips on how to deal with your stress. Doc, we talked all about stress in women and homemakers and working moms. What can they do to mitigate that, besides getting their significant other to kind of weigh in with some household assistance?
Really, the biggest problem that we see medically is there's kind of a line that you draw in your head, or that people should draw, and it comes down to when there's too much stuff on your plate, something has to fall off, and there's only so much time that you have during the day. And instead of choosing and saying I have to get these things done, which is what most people do, when you choose to phrase things like that, you actually mentally commit yourself to something different than saying I choose to do this. This is the time that I have, and I choose to do this. I choose to do the laundry, or
so
I
maybe
choose to
prioritize a little bit.
Well, prioritizing is how most people do it anyway, but when they get to the end of the day, they still don't have enough time to get everything they need to get done. So it comes down to I choose not to do this because it's just not that important to me. Or I have so much time, and if I don't take time for myself to recover, and you have to have some sort of internalization me time that just takes a break from everything else, and this is just the things that I do on my own.
So for a coping strategy for a busy mom who's under a lot of stress is to maybe put some time aside during the day for yourself, to maybe just take an hour.
Right.
I don't know if you can, take a nap or...
One of the key pieces is an adequate amount of sleep. So at least 8 hours of sleep makes a huge difference. Adequate water intake makes another huge difference. One of the things people don't realize is that when you're working and stressed, even though you're not necessarily doing high intensity stuff like running, your body actually chews up more water trying to keep up. And so most people don't take the time to actually hydrate themselves enough. And some of it is for ridiculous reasons like, well, I don't want to have to go to the bathroom that much. Okay, well, that's like saying I don't want to drive my car because I have to put gas in it.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you still have to go someplace, so you have to put the fuel in there that it needs in order to get the job done. And if you don't feed it correctly, then it's going to malfunction. And that's what when they go so far and things do start to shut down. Usually, sleep is one of the first things to go. Mood is another thing that goes. They get anxious, or the kids or the spouse will be like, oh, back off.
What about having a sense of doing something that counts or something that's meaningful?
That has a huge amount to do with personal happiness, actually, internally. The three things that when you look at happiness studies that they talk about, one of them is doing something that you can lose yourself in, meaning like I can sit and read a book for an hour and not realize that 5 minutes went by. Another thing is doing something for something other than yourself, which is what most people do anyway. And the third thing is actually doing something that's bigger than you, meaning that, and bigger than like your immediate family, like a community project. And so that's where churches and those types of activities really come into play. To helping out with those types of things. You put those three things in play, that you're doing something that you would do it for free and you would do it for hours on end and not realize that all the time went by. You do it for somebody other than you, and you do it for something bigger than you on a community basis, and that's one of the key features to lead into internal happiness.
So you've got to have some sort of hobby, maybe be part of something bigger than
Correct.
you.
Yeah. And balance.
And balance, too. Good.
Yeah.
Good. So there's got to be a balance because you've got to take care of yourself. You've got to take care of your own interests.
Right.
But you've got to do something outside of yourself to really enjoy your life.
And if you can put those two together, lots of folks have different hobbies that they just, tinker with. And if you can do that for a bigger community project, you're killing two birds with one stone. So you're consolidating and making things more efficient to feed both sides of your system. There's an internal side of you that needs to be satisfied, and an external side that says, well, this is why I'm part of this community. And that's what helps people be more resilient.
When you hear about the term nervous breakdown,
Yep.
There's not a nerve that breaks.
No.
It's actually a person being overwhelmed by
Correct.
the circumstances.
Yeah, it's more of a systemic shutdown. And I equate it to patients that if you're trying to run a marathon, or if you're trying to run to the end of the block, okay, well, most people can do that. Well, okay, stretch that to a mile. Well, fewer people can do that. Stretch that to a marathon. Okay, well, even fewer people can do that. Well, we have these folks that, chronically, they're actually equivalent to running several marathons in a row, and they never give their system a break. And you get to the point where your system says, okay, if you're not going to listen to me when I'm telling you that you need to take a break, I'm going to start shutting something else down. And that's where you get that whole term of nervous breakdown.
So you got to keep it all manageable.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your sound advice, and thanks for coming on the show and getting us smart on how to deal with our stress.
Yes, sir.
And we'll be right back after your Max Biz tip from Zenobia.
Hi, Zenobia Andrews here, your business system strategist, and I am delighted to be here inside the Max House Studios bringing you your Max Biz tip for today. Now, this week we're going to be working with business systems. Business systems. And this week, our topic is hiring systems. Hiring systems. You know, it's so important that not only that you get the right candidate for your company or for the position that you're hiring for, but you want to make sure that you don't drive yourself crazy in the process, right? So with that being said, I'm just going to go through some things that you need to consider before you start creating your hiring system. I want you to think about, you know, what is the ideal candidate that you would like to have in this particular position, right? And then I want you to start thinking about how are you going to write the job description. This is so important. The job description really needs to be one that's easy to be understood. It needs to be one that kind of stands out though, but not in a weird way. Because a lot of search engines, when people are looking for a job, it comes up, the title comes up, the job description comes up first. So you want to make sure that the title is easy to understand, but it's also unique in that it'll grab the potential candidates that you would like for it to grab. So in addition to that, you want to make sure that your job description includes your mission and your core values of your company so that the candidates will know what your company is all about. And then the step 2 is you want to post the job on different search sites like LinkedIn, Monster, Indeed.com. I'll say it again, LinkedIn, Monster, Indeed. And then number 3, you want to start accepting resumes. Accepting resumes. I want you to put some thought into how you're going to actually accept the resumes. Is it going to be online? Are you going to use a third-party company to receive your resumes, okay? Listen, I'm Zenobia Andrews, your business system strategist, and I am here to support you. If you need additional help in creating a hiring system, and we're going to be talking about this all week long, you can find me at www.zenobiaandrews.com. Listen, let's continue to press towards the max.
Welcome back to the show. I went for a quick shirt change and a new guest here. I've got Bill Husfeldt, the superintendent of Bay County Schools, in the studio today, and he's going to tell us about some of the changes you can expect next year. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Don. Appreciate it.
Yeah. There's a new school schedule. What's it going to look like? And why are we doing it?
We changed the starting times. We were having some problems with buses getting to school on time and kids being able to eat breakfast early in the morning. And we have so many kids that have to go to so many different places with transfers and everything because we provide transportation to almost anybody that wants it, basically. But we changed the elementary start time 5 minutes earlier. Elementary will start at 7:45. Now, there are some exceptions. Before we get started on this, Dean Bozeman School, because they're a K-12, their schedule will be separate from everyone else.
Okay.
Tyndall, we start Tyndall at 7:30 because of the workforce out there.
Sure, they start their work day. Their duty day starts at
Yes,
7:30.
and so we're not changing those. And then the special schools, we have some special schools, New Horizons Learning Center, Margaret K. Lewis, St. Andrews Elementary. Those schools will be on a separate schedule. But now our regular elementary will start at 7:45. Our middle school will start at 9 o'clock, and the high school will start at 8:30. And so we changed those 15 minutes. The high school and the middle school, we changed them 15 minutes.
And the school day will end about what time?
The school day will end at 3:30 for the high school and 4 o'clock for the middle school.
Okay, and that's a pretty hefty day, but that I think that complements people's lives and lifestyles. I like the idea of you tailoring it to each school. I mean, like take for instance the Tyndall School, Tyndall Elementary. They've got a duty day of 7:30 to 4:30, and well, if you've ever been in the military, it's 7:30 to whenever you get out of there sometimes. But it just makes it so much easier because sometimes you have military couples; they're both in the service,
and we run into that a lot. And a lot of military folks, even though they have to be at work earlier, they don't live in the Tyndall area, so. They will drop their kids off on the way to work, and then there are a lot that live in another area of the county, and their kids go to school in another area, and they trust that. So the parents are very involved in that. Now, there are people that don't like the time changes. There are people that I've had people call me, I like that. I've had people call me that didn't like it. We used to start high school at 7:30 in the morning. And this year we changed it, and we're changing it 15 more minutes. And it makes more sense, especially for those older kids, the high school kids, that they need that extra time because they have to get 8 hours sleep. They're not going to bed early.
And if you've got to get up to meet a bus
Right.
in the morning, you're getting up at dark 30, standing out there on the corner waiting for a bus. And how do you learn when you're tired?
Well, and you know, that's where the parents come in. Parents have to come in and monitor their children for that. But, you know, this is not going to be a perfect situation for everybody because everybody has different situations. Some parents have to be at work at 6 o'clock. Some have to be at work at 7. Some don't have to be at work till 9. But our transportation, we could not transport all the kids, get them on time the way the schedule was set. So we had to do something, and this is what we had to do to change that.
And administratively, is that going to be a big issue for you, or?
No, it's not going to be a big issue. As I said, we changed the high school start time this year 45 minutes. We changed the total time 45 minutes. And I've had one comment from someone, and that was a male student came to me and thanked me because he was able to go to Starbucks in the morning before he went to school when he was wide awake.
Hey, you got to get that Starbucks
Well, and I know each situation is different, but you know, we try to work. The high schools will try to work. If a student has to get out and go to work, they'll put them in a co-op class or an internship type class where they can allow them to go to work in the afternoon so they don't have to stay there till the
We've got to run off to a break, but I'd like to talk more about that internship
Okay.
type stuff on the other side of these messages, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. I'm here with Bay County School Superintendent Bill Husfeldt. Mr. Husfeldt, we talked a little bit about internships, and I always have the best interviews during the breaks here. And we talked a little bit
Just
about
leave it
internships.
rolling, right?
Yeah, we should just let it roll through the commercial. But not everybody's college material, I mean, in my estimation. And what's Bay County Schools doing to make sure that kids who aren't necessarily college bound are prepared to enter the workforce, the skilled workforce?
One of the things we're doing now is we've created career academies in all the high schools, and they vary from medical to engineering to software operation to computer programming. There's a lot of ways. What we're trying to do is get the kids to start thinking about a career and what areas they want to go into. Haney, and you said you're going to do something with Haney soon.
Yeah, I'm going to go talk with those people.
And Haney's a hidden treasure. A lot of people, you know, go on past history or what they've heard or whatever, but I've never met anybody that I've got to go into Haney and take a tour that didn't come out, wow. I mean, I did not know that was all there. And so Haney provides a lot of valuable options to our young folks in this area, and we encourage them to look at that. But just for example, we are looking at cybersecurity at one of our high schools next year. That is a major, major push.
That's a course of study at the Naval Academy where my son is. He has to take a cybersecurity class.
Well, I was reading something about the Pentagon in the next 4 or 5 years is going to hire 250,000 people
During the
dealing
constant
with
attack.
cybersecurity. But those are the areas that we're trying to get people, and you might not necessarily have to have a college degree to do that,
And
to
not
get
just,
into it.
And not just computers either, because we talked about, you know, HVAC
Right.
people.
Plumbing,
plumbing,
electrical.
electricians, I mean, all these, automotive. We
Right.
need this skilled workforce to function as a society.
Don, the biggest problem we have, though, is convincing parents that their child doesn't need to go to college. And a lot of times the kid or the student doesn't want to go to college, but parents are pushing them to go to college. And they're not ready. And you talked about your own experience like that.
Sure.
And I've got a brother that was like that, and now he's very successful. But sometimes kids aren't ready, and you're wasting time going into something like that if you're not ready to go to a community college or university or whatever. And so there are a lot of great options out there that their interest might lie in. I'll never forget I used to do surveys with the kids, and they'd put down what they wanted to be, and the student on the card put they wanted to be a Brian surgeon. And I knew I knew right then that somebody put that idea in that kid's head, and it's hard for us to convince the parents, wait a minute, look.
You should
it's
be able to spell it if you
it's
want to
great
be
to have good goals, and we want you to have lofty goals, but they need to be reasonable, and you need to be able to meet those goals. And so it's a challenge for schools and guidance counselors and teachers to guide students in the right direction.
You know, as a society and as an economy and even as a country, you know, we can't sell things that we make if we don't know how to make things. If we don't know how to
Or
fix
fix
things.
them.
Or fix
Fix them,
things.
right.
And, you know, air conditioning here in Florida is so huge.
It is a major industry. And we were talking about a company in town that told me that they could increase their commercial side 50% if they could just find the workforce for it. And so, but you know, when you're a senior in high school or a junior in high school, the last thing you think, I want to go fix air conditioners for a living. Do you know how much money those guys make? They make $60,000, $70,000 a year and can make more than that if they're really sharp and know what they're doing. And that's great money for a skill.
And that's right out of the gate.
That's just starting.
Yeah.
And if they have a great work ethic, and you know, another thing that companies like Gulf Power tell us is they just want good work ethic. They'll teach them, they'll train them what they need them to know, but they want someone to come in there with a good work ethic that's a solid citizen. And I'll tell you this, 99% of our kids are great. You know, it's always the 1% that gets in the paper that causes the grief and the problems, but 99% of our kids are great. They just don't know what they want to do yet, and so we try to help them and guide them, and that's the best thing for parents to do, is realize not every kid's going to fit into what they want them to be. They're all different.
Bill Husfeldt, we're going to have to let that be the last word. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Good to see you, Don.
And we will see you next time.